Welcome to the show. I'm Vivian Kopsinja-Birchall, your host, and this is our very first show this year, 2025. And in the studio is my dear friend, Jean Byamugisha, who is the Executive Director for the Uganda Hotel Owners Association in Uganda. Jean, welcome.
Thank you so much.
It's such a pleasure to host you here.
It's an honor to be here.
First of all, it's a new year. Happy New Year.
Oh, same to you. Likewise.
And you know, with the new year, there's new vision, there's new opportunities and new dreams.
Yes.
So maybe before we get into the dreams and visions, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so my name is Jean Byamugisha. I'm the CEO of the Uganda Hotel Owners Association. I'm proud to be the first female CEO of the association and the youngest at the time when I took over this position. Because Uganda has a young population, I was very honored to be part of the youth in leadership at the time and have grown through the stages. I have been mentored by powerful people in the hotel sector in Uganda. It's really been an honor, and especially as an example of what the successful people can do to mentor young people into positions of power and influence in the country and bring forward the next generation. So I've been in this position for the last 8.5 years. That is a huge success. We've shown the difference between female-led leadership and male-led leadership in corporations in Uganda. And I think the females have outperformed the men, which has been fantastic. But it's also an honor to really run the Hotel Association. This is the biggest private sector association in Uganda's tourism industry. It's 25 years old. It's one of the oldest associations. And it's also one of the biggest employers in not just the tourism industry, but the whole economy in Uganda. So it's something that I'm definitely proud to be a part of and leave my mark.
Well, I love that. We're going to start there, leaving your mark. So there is, maybe if you could, you've told us what the association is, but what category of hotels, or what is, how do you define hotels in this context?
Okay, so for us hotels, it's a broad generalization of all accommodation facilities. So we have all accommodation facilities from the 5-star hotels to the lodges in the parks, to the campsites, to Airbnbs. So anybody who provides accommodation, as long as you meet the minimum requirements, then you can be part of the association. This is great for us because it's we're one of the biggest lobby and advocacy groups in Uganda, but also the Hotel Association is the mouthpiece for all the hotels in Uganda. So our main duty, our main mandate is to create a conducive business environment for hotels owners in Uganda. So we've been tackling very sensitive issues, like, for instance, the review of the tax regime in the hotel industry. We believe that hotels are the most taxed entities, business entities in Uganda. And we've been lobbying for the last 5 years to have this reviewed and amended and changed. I think we are at the tail end of that, but you see, it takes a very long time, and that's something that we are very proud to do.
Well, first, with what the description you've just given of the hotels as accommodations, we know that Uganda is one of the tourism hubs in Africa, I dare say, because of some of the tourist attractions there. But how are the hotels, or how is this association placing the hotels in a very competitive way, you know, compared to other hotels, maybe neighboring countries and even internationally?
First of all, Uganda already is a bit ahead because we are known as the Pearl of Africa. Sir Winston Churchill came to Africa, and once he got to Uganda, he said he had never seen a place that was more beautiful and actually called us the Pearl of Africa. So right there, we really do stand out when it comes to African countries as really one of the most beautiful places. As a Ugandan, I speak with confidence. Almost every person who comes to Uganda always leaves wanting to come back. We've got the best weather in the world. We've got the best food in the world. We've got the friendliest people on the continent. We have one of the safest countries in Africa. We have got one of the powerful, powerful military establishments in Africa. Uganda is in very many countries and peacekeeping missions, and in Uganda particularly, we are a very peaceful country, very welcoming country. And it's also a very good country that is ripe for investment, both domestic and international investment. We have the Uganda Investment Authority that gives a lot of incentives for international investors. Uganda, I think, is one of the few African countries where an international investor can repatriate all their profits back home. It's almost unheard of.
Is that a good thing?
Maybe a good and bad thing, but it is one of the ways in which we encourage, especially for us in the hotel industry, the big international name brand hotels like the Hilton, the Marriotts, the Sheratons. That's how they are able to come into the country, because of the incentives that are offered to investors. So Uganda is one of those countries that is really perfect for investment in every way. Right now, we are looking at MICE, that is meetings, incentives, conferences, and events. And in the African continent, Uganda is number 6 in terms of attractiveness to MICE, meaning when an international corporation, an international organization wants to host a meeting in Africa, Uganda is number 6, and that's huge for us because we are right behind the big boys like Morocco, like South Africa, like Egypt, like Kenya, like Rwanda. So that's really huge, and we are hoping that in 2025, the government is investing more money in terms of promotion, in terms of marketing, in terms of getting in more hotel facilities ready, so that we can be able to be among the top 5 MICE destinations in Africa.
Yeah, so there are 2 things that I want to you to touch on. The first is, as we're, being competitive or placing our hotels in a competitive advantage, I don't know, how do I call it? We want to be the best.
Yes.
In the region. We want to trailblaze.
Yes.
And now the world is moving more to sustainability centered everything. So in what ways is the Uganda Hotels Association working with hotels to ensure sustainability? And in the same context, we're looking at, there are different factors that bring people into a country. One of them is the availability of healthcare facilities, so that when they get sick, they can have good healthcare. So in what ways are you partnering with the health industry to make sure that hotels and health go hand in hand for the benefit of the tourists who may be international?
Okay, so the first one to do with sustainability. For us in Uganda, being a tourist destination, we are a demand-driven destination. Okay. So what the tourist demands is what we do. So for instance, in 2019, we went for the ITB show in Berlin, and every tourist, every tour operator in Europe came and told us, unless you're talking about sustainability, we can no longer send guests to you. The European market is now sustainable. They are talking about sustainability, and every decision they make has got to have a sustainability component. So right from 2009, it kind of slowed down because of COVID, like the whole world did. But right now, it is our main focus, our main agenda, our main mandate, sustainability, because that's what the market requires. So you'll find that now in many hotels, we are doing a lot of recycling. Before a couple of years ago, you'd go to a hotel and you find these little soaps which they put in the bathrooms, and those have to be changed every day, even though you don't use it up every day, and we're not recycling. So now we are becoming very more conscious of sustainability practices. You'll find now when you come for a conference in most of the hotels in Uganda, we are no longer using plastic water bottles. We are actually using glass water bottles. Or we are encouraging people to move with their own water bottles, and then we put water dispensers around the room. We are now working with the people like Pepsi and Coca-Cola to recycle. They are the ones who bring us all these plastics and cans into the hotels. And so you'll find that now they're deliberate efforts and deliberate partnerships looking at sustainability practices in the hotels, even involving the guests. When you come to a hotel, you're going to find a lot of those placards in the rooms that say, please, if you want your towel washed, put it on the floor, but we really encourage you to have your towels and bed sheets washed every 3 days as opposed to every day, so that even as a guest, you feel involved, you feel like you're part of the solution in regards to sustainability. So we're moving very fast. I'm proud of how far we've come. I'm proud of the messaging that is there. And I'm also proud of the individual responsibility every person is taking, both as a guest, but also as a business owner, as a hotel owner in Uganda. You make it your responsibility first, and then make sure that everybody around you also takes responsibility for the way they dispose of their trash, to make sure that at least it's done in a sustainable way. In regards to healthcare, the biggest thing for us about hotels, I think even before a hotel can get its permit, you have to actually show that you have insurance, both for your staff, both for your guests. In case of any incident or accident, the hotel is liable. So we've partnered with the hospitals around, with the health centers around, to make sure that once the guests come, particularly I'm very proud of the lodges in the national parks, who have actually invested back into the local community health centers to try and bring them up to speed, at least to be able to offer first aid and make sure that if a client, if a guest gets a problem and in a medical emergency, there is first aid available before they are evacuated either to Kampala or, you know, for more medical attention in South Africa, in Europe, in Nairobi. At least immediately they can be able to offer help. So it's still not at the international standard, but at least we are in touch and in conversations with the big insurance companies, with the big hospitals, even with the government, you know, to make sure at least as Uganda, we are also a hub. I was very proud before I came for my Christmas holidays. I think we had done the first kidney transplant in Uganda. That was very exciting. We are getting a lot further in terms of healthcare. There's a lot of information now about cancer, especially in schools for young girls, young people. We are getting a lot of cancer. So we don't know whether it's because we now have more information or it's because of our changing lifestyles. But either way, we are getting a lot more information, and information is power. And with that, now at least we are able to see how we can be able to address some of the healthcare challenges. But still, there's still very many blind spots that need to be addressed.
Well, and which is a good segue into the next question, perhaps. When you talk about blind spots, in this instance, it was healthcare, but what are some of the blind spots in tourism, in the hotel industry, that, or I dare say, some of the challenges that you're yet to address, or what are some of the areas that you want to see some change in?
One of the biggest challenges we have in Uganda is that we have a very young population, and with that comes very high unemployment. But then there is also a very big disconnect. For some time now, there's been a big disconnect between the academia and employers. Every year we release about 100,000 young people into the job market, but every year we still have the same job market with very many gaps. In hotels particularly, we are always accused of bringing in a lot of expatriate manpower. You have the big hotels employing general managers from Kenya, from South Africa, from Europe, which is great because we need that kind of expertise, and they are able to create and build capacity. But it doesn't address the problem of why don't you have the right caliber of people in Uganda. So as Uganda Hotel Owners Association, we've attacked this now head on. Number one, we've partnered with the universities. We are part of the curriculum development committees. We are now pushing for an employer-led curriculum. Our curriculum takes long to be reviewed. So you find all these kids are graduating with very irrelevant papers because what they have been trained is no longer relevant to the job market. The tourism industry, the hospitality industry in Uganda is very dynamic. I think even world over is very dynamic. You know, before COVID, we were operating in a different, you know, environment. After COVID, we came into what was known as the new normal, where now we were basically trying to see how we could automate each and every process. But the curriculum does not take that into account. They are still training kids as if and yet now the job, some of the things they are training are completely obsolete in the hotel industry. For us as Uganda Hotel Owners Association, we are actually trying to change the way we are doing training by introducing the apprenticeship model kind of training. We are getting kids, we are getting young people and training them in hotels for a period of 1 year. Now, we piloted this about 2 years ago with about 100 apprentices, and the results were nothing short of amazing. 70% of these young people were actually retained after the 1 year training, because if you train for a hotel for 1 year, you're basically part of their ecosystem, you're part of their staff, they can't let you go, which is great because now they were able to get jobs. The second year, we now escalated it to 200 young people, and 75% of those have been retained. But also, most importantly, Uganda is home to 1.6 million refugees. And for us, unlike other countries, our refugees don't stay in camps, they stay in settlements, meaning that they can trade, they go to school, they have, they can do, they're part of our economy and ecosystem. And what this apprenticeship program has done, it's also trained the refugees into formal employments. There have been programs, but they've all been for informal employment, like braiding hair, tailoring, etc. The apprenticeship program in the hotel industry is the first of its kind in the whole of Uganda. And I think even in East Africa, where we are seeing more refugees being trained for formal employment to come and work in the hotel industry, they open up bank accounts, they have contracts, and it's been nothing short of amazing.
First of all those are very, very impressive programs, and you know, I feel like you're trailblazing in the region, not just in Uganda, because like you mentioned, just integrating refugees alone, we've seen different countries within the United States struggle with refugees, and I think Uganda has been a model for many to see the integration happen so smoothly, or it looks smooth anyway to the rest of the world. But so kudos to you and your team for doing that. I think credit, they say give flowers when people are still alive. I think you deserve these flowers. But just to tap into your what you mentioned about the hotel industry evolving, or even the world post-COVID, how have you integrated technology? You briefly mentioned the automation of everything. So how have you really integrated technology in the hotel industry, especially given the trends right now with artificial intelligence, with all kinds of technological advancement?
I think when it comes in terms of technology, there's some industries where you cannot run away from some things, right? And I think hospitality is one of those. First of all, I'll give an example. Before a couple of years ago, we were using the regular TVs that were consuming a lot of electricity. But then as the producers start getting better at producing, these LED TVs and less power consuming gadgets, we are the market that they are producing them for. And so you find that even when we use the latest technology and it brings down our energy bills and all of that, we are then the people who are advocating for something like that, because like I say, the hotels are facing some of the highest bills, especially in Uganda. We pay about 27 different types of taxes and licenses, and that is outside the overheads of electricity, water. So anything that can create relief to the hotel owners, it is something that for us as Uganda Hotel Owners Association, we truly advocate for. One of the things that we learned during COVID is, and I remember I was told, this information was given to me by the general manager of one of the biggest hotels in Uganda. I said, I think we have a problem of overemployment in Uganda. During COVID, when our staff were furloughed, one staff could do the job of about 3 different people. If you are the front office, you could go to the kitchen and cook if there was no guest to check in, and you could go and serve in. But before that, you'd have 10 people for each department, and of course that reduces the efficiency of the work done, even the capacity of this person to grow, because they don't really have much to be able to push them to be better than themselves. So that's one of the things where we have actually seen that we need to reskill, retool, relearn, reteach, everything. Our word now is how do you reinvent?
Renovate.
Exactly, renovate, and all of that. We are agree on everything, at least in the tourism industry and the hospitality industry in Uganda. So when it comes to technology, you cannot run away from some of the world trends. We do not operate in a silo. We do not compete amongst ourselves as Ugandans or as East Africans anymore. We are now competing on the global market. We are competing with Europe, with US, with China, with Russia, with wherever. So we have also got to think outside the box and look at being able to bring in some of the technologies that are required and demanded by the markets where we go to market our services.
Are there any such technologies that you can think of at the top of your head?
One of the things that we are actually getting kids interested in, usually I'm invited to speak to kids at the universities, and the only question I ask them is the one question which my dad asked me after COVID, where he said, have you future-proofed your career? Are you sure the job you're doing now is not going to be done by a machine in the next 5 or 10 years? Are you sure you're still going to have a job in the next 5 or 10 years when you have got bigger bills to pay? And so in asking that question, we are helping kids to think outside the box in the courses that they are doing. And we are also trying to encourage more vocational skills in Uganda. We have got so many kids with degrees which they are not using or are irrelevant or are now being taken over by AI and everything like that. But if somebody has a skill, right? If somebody can use their hands, that skill, you know, you have employment for life. You have independence for life. You know, if you can sing, great. If you're a carpenter, amazing. If you can use your hands, you're a much better employer and much better suited for the job market than somebody who is relying 100% on just their papers.
I am actually, I subscribe to that chain of thought. And I really, truly believe in
It's
skills.
difficult in Uganda because people think of vocational courses as courses for failures.
Right.
Until very recently, hospitality was one of those industries where if you didn't become a lawyer or an engineer, it was always a second choice, never the first choice.
Right.
But that is now changing because now tourism is the #1 foreign exchange earner for Uganda. And so people are starting to, #1, invest in the industry. We have got more domestic hotel owners than the international hotel owners, and the product, the domestic product is really up there with the international product. And then that has encouraged the young people now to actually think, I can have a career. And hospitality is one of the most stable careers. You'll find somebody who has worked in hospitality for 50 years. A general manager will tell you, I started off as a cleaner and I've worked 50 years to the top. So once you get in, really, you're in for life, not other sectors where you can keep jumping from here and there.
Yeah, and previously you've mentioned that you're really competing with the international industry. So in that context, what are some of the best practices you've seen in other international hotels that you hope to adopt or to adopt for Uganda?
Everything. Everything. Of course, I'm very cognizant of the fact that Uganda is a very young market. You know, Uganda is only 60 years old as compared to the US, which is how old? 300 years old. So over Uganda is a very young industry. Uganda has got a very young population, and Uganda is still growing. So everything that we come to learn either on holiday or on international exposure trips, benchmarking trips, is something we need back home. As the Hotel Owners Association, I think our chairperson and our board are really championing for benchmarking opportunities. In Africa, we have a saying that unless you get out of home, you always think your mom's cooking is the best.
That is true.
Yeah, and that is exactly what happens with a lot of our hotel owners, especially the domestic hotel owners. They think, oh yes, I have built this, this is my style, this is my class. Yeah, this is amazing. Until you come for a benchmarking opportunity in the US or in Europe and you look at the changing trends. I'll give an example. A couple of years ago, it was in fashion for a room to be cramped with each and every design and style. You know, you'd have the African mixed with the contemporary, mixed with the modern, and the more that was in a room, the better, because you always said, oh, this room is very expensive, I have got. But then we went to Europe for an expo, and everything was minimalist. Everything was clean. Everything was simple.
I was waiting for that word.
And so we went back home and we said, oh boy, these rooms are too busy. This, you know, if I'm a guest, if I'm a business guest, I don't want to turn and look at this color and the other color. I want peace and calm and tranquility. And so we had now to clean out everything. And the good thing with that is that with the East African Common Markets Protocol, all the hotel operation materials are exempt. So if somebody comes to the US to buy tables, chairs, linen, cutlery, washing machines for hotel use, they are tax exempt when you bring them into the country. So it was easy for somebody to go and get a loan and clean out their rooms, because that's what the market demands. And so you can charge $200-300 for a minimalist room. Nobody wants to even pay $80 for a room that is just so busy. So there is so much to learn, and that's why these benchmarking trips are very important in terms of design, decor, but also operations. When we go to Europe, we clearly see that we are overemploying in Uganda. You know, you go to Europe, you check into a hotel, you carry your own luggage. In Uganda, right from security, you have the red carpet laid out for you. Somebody will carry your luggage, somebody will carry your child, somebody will carry you if you need be. So those are some of the things where these kinds of exposure opportunities really do a lot in getting us at least at the international standards.
I know we're talking too much, but it's not every day that I have you here, and you'll be going to Uganda. But there's a couple of things that I've struck out. One, you're talking about people, you know, the importation of things you need for the hotel industry from, say, the United States or Europe, which is all good. But as somebody who's, you know, from Uganda and want to see a boost in the industry sector, in the industrial sector, I don't know, are there opportunities or plans to have some of these things produced home so that we can use home products for home hotels and employ, you know, create more employment opportunities for, as you're trying to scale down on how many people are employed in the hotels, that they have somewhere else to go, because we've talked about the youth, the huge numbers, and they are unemployed. And so how do we build that ecosystem where we are promoting industry, promoting tourism, and employing our people?
First of all, in Uganda now we have what we call the BUBU initiative, BUBU, Buy Uganda, Build Uganda initiative. And that is one of the things that we champion as domestic investors. Before you go out to import anything, are you sure it's not produced in the country? Now, we are affected by issues of quality. And that's why we are now trying to see how we can support the artisan communities, the local communities, to be able to produce to the international, to the standard that we demand. One of the things that I always say is that hotel owners are first and foremost businessmen. We are not a charity. So if somebody is going to borrow billions of shillings to put up a hotel in Uganda, the last thing that they need is anything that doesn't bring a return on that investment. So we advocate from that angle first and foremost. So we do want to support the local communities, but do they produce the kind of standard that we want? And also, as Ugandans, we also realize that we'll come up by lifting each other up. So if I build a hotel in a local community, as a hotel owner, I need to invest more into the training of these young people so that they can be able to produce the kind of quality that I want for my hotel. They benefit, I benefit. So the Hotel Association really champions the BUBU initiative. We have got, even I think as we speak right now, the domestic partner, the donor agencies and development partners in Uganda are really working with us to see how we can, and I think I talked about the apprenticeship program. It was more to do with how can we be able to empower these young people and train them to the level that is required by the hotels to be able to find decent employment. Not just employment, right? We want decent employment. We want somebody who can be employed into the industry and actually grow and develop from the industry. We want artisans who can be able to command top dollar because they are producing the kind of workmanship and craftsmanship that is required by the industry. We want that exposure. You know, many of the hotel owners are not hoteliers, they are businessmen, meaning that they are doing this as a second business. So we're trying to see how we can be able to hone into their initial expertise. Many of them are engineers, many of them are... So when they do even travel with us abroad and we visit all these hotels, we are looking at also the technology that is used to build these hotels. We are looking at the architecture designs that are used to build these hotels. We are looking at the... You know, all that is what we are looking and taking into consideration so that we can be able to bring back home and be able to grow the industry. So we are working again with young people in terms of building, the masons, the craftsmen, the carpenters and all of that to see. We are working with government to also see how we can encourage more of this, maybe by having a tax rebate for anybody who buys locally Ugandan products and for the use in the hotels, how they can be able to get a tax break in that regard. But also we have government agencies. Now, for instance, the Uganda National Bureau of Standards that will charge you more if you're going to import something that can actually be sourced locally in Uganda. So we try to balance the boat, as we say in Uganda, from all different angles.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, we could go on and on. But I guess the final thing I would say, is there anything that we haven't talked about regarding your work, regarding Uganda Hotels Owners Association that you'd like to tell our viewers?
Yes, I keep telling people back home and wherever I go that I work in an industry where it doesn't feel like work every day. Not only is it a passion of mine, but it is also a very dynamic industry. No 2 days are the same for me. And that is one of the things which I love about my job. But most importantly, I love seeing the impact we have on the youth. Uganda, I think over 80% of people in Uganda are young people, are youth. So everything that we're doing is trying to find solutions for these young people, especially employment solutions. A country cannot grow without really growing their young people. So for me, it is an honor. I work with a very strong board chairperson, Mrs. Susan Muhwezi, who is a mentor, who is a mother figure for all the young people in Uganda. I have a very strong board of directors at the Uganda Hotel Owners Association, which has made our association stand out as one of the best associations in Uganda, something that we are very proud of. And I am honored to talk to young people and to live by example by telling them that if you follow your passion, then you will always be successful in all that you do.
Well, again, it's been amazing having you here. It's been an honor. And one of my passion areas, obviously, is promoting Uganda, but also healthcare. And I'm hoping that we can have more conversation about the integration of health with tourism and the wellness of the country in all aspects. But for now, I really want to say thank you for taking the time to come to ActonTV. We're so honored to host you here. Thanks for the work that you do with the Uganda Hotel Owners Association.
Thank you.
And the work that you do for Uganda, which is our country. You know, I'm lucky to have two countries now, Uganda and the United States. And with that, I hope to have you here again sometime.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's been such an honor. And to our viewers, I hope you have learned more about what goes on behind the scenes for the hotels in Uganda. And for those who have always wanted to visit the country, I hope you have some, you know, you appreciate how much work goes into welcoming you. And I hope you'll take the time to go visit this beautiful country that was nicknamed the Pearl of Africa. For now, thank you for watching. Till next time.